Yo guys, we have some Exia gameplay to go over from a viewer submitted VOD. We're going to see some gameplay that I would call responsible and intelligent in some ways, but fundamentally lacking an understanding of how Exia should play, in addition to some mechanical errors. So, starting on, you have to be careful about spamming damage from this sort of situation, just because you can get hit in the face by a GM sniper. You do really need to be careful about that. It's okay to do it a little bit. Usually you throw it right as they're walking out of the spawn door, but you don't really want to just stand on the open and shoot, because they do have a GM sniper too, and if he sees our Exia player here, he really should die. So, this is a solid engagement. Unfortunately, the gameplay here has the health bar covered up. That's why I have my face cam a different weird place than normal, but so we can't really see exactly what the HP was at. But when you dash in here and you hit this, it's solid. You just have to understand that if you don't get the kill, it's just time to leave. Especially because you're not going to be able to finish it off. The enemy should have been rezzing that. Somehow they ended up killing everyone, your team, but yeah. So anyway, playing Exia, fundamentally, Exia is a flanker. Exia really needs to be playing on an angle where the enemy doesn't know where they are. It needs to be coming from the side, hunting down a target that is a high priority kill, dashing onto them, primary firing, and then slashing them to kill them, and then using the mobility to get out. Following up on a kill like this, though, is good. But just for general gameplay purposes, you really have to be careful about how you're playing. For example, right now, you don't want to be standing in a place where the enemy is just going to be looking at. There's better places to play. There are better places to wait for the enemy to engage from. You don't have to go in from where you're waiting right now. You can wait till they walk underneath this bridge and then engage them, where they have to walk into open space. Instead, we're trying to fight them right now where they have an advantage, which is why our Pale Rider ended up getting kills. You need to really be aware of where the enemy's at in these sort of circumstances. Be really thinking about, like, hey, am I about to get shot in the back? Fortunately, you get slapped right into a health back. A place like where you are right now is pretty okay. Now it's not. You're back with your team. You don't really want to be with your team. If you want to play like this, if a map is requiring you or the enemy gameplay is making you want to play with your teammates, just swap characters. Like, yeah, you can kind of force it because of the way Exia works with its stun and having that strong ability, but there's better characters. I'd like to see this be a little bit more snappy. As soon as you damage them, I'd like to see a regular dash or your dash ability onto it with the slash. You don't have to, every engagement doesn't have to be a full charged up right click. Our player here doesn't actually end up doing that, which is really good. But you just got to keep in mind, you don't have to do it every single time. There's times where you don't need it. It's good if you can, of course, but you don't need it every single time. So this sort of thing is a little bit of what I'm talking about, where our positioning is off. We're standing in a place where they're probably going to come either behind us or onto this high ground. Not really likely they're just going to walk down the bottom. I would like to see our Exia player here hunting down kills, above them, on the side, something. You don't want to be just standing where they're going to walk up into it. This is a really bad example, or a really good example of why I'm talking about. Just standing right here. You're looking into 4 people. Getting these kills is a little bit silly. The enemy shouldn't be letting you get away with this. Like, yeah, great, you're fragging out, but it's only because the enemy are bad, to be honest here. Whereas this enemy Exia just came from the right spot. He just engaged at the wrong time. Engaged at the wrong time into a couple enemies, I believe, when your Sazri is ulting. You gotta be looking for an off angle, because you don't have this just high damage capability if the enemy, like, just a constant damage output like a character like RX-78 Gundam does. You have a burst. If the enemy sees you, they can mitigate that burst. Like right now, I'd like to see a flank. There's a nice little flank area on the left here. You end up using it in another like the next section of this clip, but you're not using it right now. You're standing with your Sazabi. Should never ever be with your Sazabi like that. Should always be flanking. The enemy not knowing where you are is a huge, just solid resource. And standing with your team constantly is just not the answer. Your dashes could be more consistent. I mean, I don't want to go too much into the mechanical stuff because I had like 4 days with the game or whatever. I don't even know how much you actually played. That stuff can be improved. But game sense is the best thing right now. Let's see what happened here. So we're walking back in the points, hard to be contested. Unfortunately, missed this Exia kill. A little bit tragic. You could have dashed onto him and hit him with your right click faster. Maybe. Gets killed. All right, so you're coming for the retake. Your team is doing well. Something I talk about a lot is trading, especially on a character like Exia. If you can just find an enemy, kill them, and then die, if that's what is required, every single fight on a point capture map like this, you will carry your games. Just because they will always be walking in the game down a player, and you'll respawn back faster. So it's like a 5.5 versus 5. Yes, here's a good flank. Now you're too far away. I'd like to see you take that fight. It was a Pale Rider and a Marseille. Marseille's garbage. Pale Rider's not too terrifying in like a 1v1 situation if you sneak up on it. So sneak up on it and kill it. So why you die here? Well, you gotta understand, you don't cleave through things. As soon as you hit this Marseille and you mess up, you need to dip. You need to dash to cover. You're not, like, being in that position in the open there is just really dangerous for any character, but you're not a Sazabi, you're not something that could survive it. Oh, kind of. You need to dip and go away. If you mess up, you need to disappear immediately. Even if you're successful, you should be disappearing immediately in most situations. Right now, I just like to see aggressive gameplay. It's a really good idea for any person playing this game to just play aggressively. You will learn how to not make as many mistakes if you feed more and make more mistakes. And it really is like a preferential thing. But there is high level aggressive gameplay styles. Most people who are high level do have an aggressive gameplay style. Most pros do end up being aggressive, or at least like moderately aggressive. So you could just perfect that, or in addition, just learning your mistakes. So there's no reason to be ulting into this many people. Yeah, you get some kills, but I'd rather just let them push up a little bit and then go for a kill in the back line. And then ult when they push up further. It's okay, but also, yeah, and here's where you need to get out. You don't need to get that kill. You've already gotten plenty. Just living, resetting. It's good there. Play aggressively, but also play to, they call it play your life. You need to play your life. You need to make sure that you're not dying for no reason. You're getting the absolute max value out of your life. Again, let's not walk through mid. You end up taking some damage here, and now you're just pretending you're an RX-78 Gundam here. Something I was also going to talk about, I'll mention it more later on in the video too. Your dash abilities to be used for vertical stuff or while you're in the air. You should be using your regular dashes otherwise. So hot swap onto the GM sniper. It doesn't end up mattering because your team wins. However, this is actually a really solid thing you can do. In Overwatch, people swap to Widowmaker or Bastion all the time in these sort of like overtime situations, just because the enemy is gonna have a really hard time dealing with something like that just thrown at them all of a sudden. Not only do they have to like realize that it's happening and then immediately react, but they need to put resources into it. So it can actually have a really good effect in a lot of circumstances. But you still need to come from the side. You can't come from main or you'll just be ignored. Which is what your whole problem with with your defense. You're just coming from the front, just running through open space. You're doing it right now too. Movement is incredibly predictable in this game, so you really can't be doing this. You should be dead. Especially when there's literally a flank route on the right side here. Please primary fire him. Please primary fire him. Okay, so you end up throwing this kill because you just don't primary fire him. Again, ignore the Pale Rider, please, and get the Marseille. On a character, like, target priority is usually basically whatever heals the most, or whatever can damage you the most. In like 2 CP point capture situations, it does end up being who can do the most damage. But if something's low, just kill it. That bypasses everything. If it's low and you can kill it without feeding, kill it. Here's something I was talking about a little bit about, like situational awareness. You have to kind of assume that there's something going to be behind you. That's where they're going to be coming from. Just assume that something's going to be there and then dash to the cover from in front of you. Instead, you end up taking about 200 damage or so, just unnecessarily. It doesn't end up mattering, but in other circumstances it will. Should be set up already. Should be up where your buddy is on the high ground there. Your team's pressuring the point. It's not your job to pressure it when you have that many people there. So just go secure a high ground. It should be like your, in this circumstance, like a Sosby holding the point. Yeah. So you guys do end up taking the point, and that's great. You could just done it better. In a higher elo, you'll get punished for those circumstances. It's just like, even when it feels like you're just winning and you're just popping off and things are going really great, you can always learn from that sort of stuff, because there's still mistakes that are constantly being made. Even at a really high level, there's still mistakes constantly being made. But so I believe this is where you go on a flank. It's pretty cool. Basically doing what I was saying this whole game. Yep. Okay, here we go. You should end up messing up a little bit, but all right. So you know where the enemy's at. First thing I would say is, you want to use Trans Am, use it right now, but you don't have the animation. But instead, you've missed like a full kill just because you used that. You could have killed the Stormtrooper, and instead you dash into the middle of the enemy team. Something you're doing a lot here is not using your regular dashes. So I'd like to see more of, use it earlier, hit the Stormtrooper, killed him. He can't get any support. You kill him for sure. He's alone. Then turn on the enemy team, stabilize. I'd like to see you dash over the top right here. That's a justification for use of the vertical mobility. Or double dash, whatever. And then charge up your right click and then hammer down on whatever two of these enemies are there. Instead of trying to fight them like this. You do get a kill because it's, but you know, it's just circumstances like, if the Marse pops off and hooks you, you wouldn't have done that otherwise, you know? Gotta be unpredictable. You gotta be coming from an off angle always. Anytime you can. And so before that, use your regular dashes. If you don't actually need to be like dashing while you're in the air or dashing into the air, use your regular dashes. So this is a really good spot now. Like, this is actually the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, we actually have a good positioning, although probably on the left side would be better. But just because something on your team that doesn't want to move as much wants to be in this spot, which is safer. But why are we running down to it? They have to come to the objective. Right now, you are winning the game. They have to come to the objective. Just let them do it. Right now, you're dashing in because you need to go get a kill. And the only thing you're doing is slowing things down a little bit. Like a tiny little bit. Now you give it up your positioning. You end up missing that. That's okay. It's a mechanical thing. But you're giving up your positioning. You're giving up your opportunity to just frag them when they have touched the point. When they get softened up by your teammates that actually do need to be on the point. And then you just frag them. Like this Sosby right here, you can hit it from behind and murder it. What killed you here? Like you're just low HP because you keep engaging from a front. Yep, you go from the side. From the side or above or behind. There's so many options. Just stop coming from the front. I know it's easier, but just stop it, please. If you haven't seen my 6 mobile suit guides, then make sure to check them out. They're very nice and collated. Talk about abilities, talk about how to play the character, when to play, talk to strengths and weaknesses. There's so much in those videos in a really nice and tight package, so check them out. Thanks, guys.